Bill Shorten has effectively ruled out a return to the Malaysia solution if he wins the election next Saturday. Annalise Nielsen is on the campaign trail and joins me live. Annalise, the comments have come as he's touring the marginal seat of Petrie in Queensland today.
They have indeed. It was in reaction to comments from Tanya Plibersek when she was talking about refugees. She did leave the door open, suggesting that there could be potential to negotiate with Malaysia or the United States if there was an increase in the number of refugees coming to Australia, and that's reignited this. It was Bill Shorten who was being peppered with questions as he toured Redcliffe Hospital here in the seat of Petrie, as you mentioned, and it's here he said that he was effectively ruling it out.
Oh, there's no arrangements to talk with Malaysia. We're not the government. But you use the word new. New Zealand's been on the on the table for 4 or 5 years. You've got to ask yourself why the government hasn't pursued it. Do they want to prolong this issue?
Now, Bill Shorten was also saying that he thinks that it is a cynical ploy by the coalition to reignite the border wars because they do enjoy talking about it. But it was Scott Morrison who was continuing to respond to the comments from Tanya Plibersek this morning, and it was him saying that he thinks we would be able to get a better deal under the coalition with the United States if there was the need to renegotiate any kind of settlement options.
There is a lot of scope in the current deal, and we're continuing to have people take up the offer to go and be relocated and resettled in the United States. It does strike me as passing strange that the Labor Party, in particular Tanya Plibersek and Bill Shorten, who have been fairly colourful in their descriptions of the Trump administration, would think that they'd be in a stronger position to achieve an even better arrangement. I find that a little odd.
Now, it's here in Petrie that we do have the opposition leader meeting with workers at the moment. You can see he's just here speaking to them about wages as well as penalty rates. There have been two very consistent themes of the campaign for the Labor Party. Petrie is an interesting choice. It's held by the Liberal Party with a margin of 1.6%, so not much in there at all. The coalition has 21 seats in Queensland. About a third of those have a margin of less than 4%. So it could absolutely make or break chances for the Labor Party. We're going to see them putting a lot of time on the ground here in Queensland this week.
We absolutely will, Annalise. Thank you. And we are going to just listen into Bill Shorten there, who is addressing workers.
Going to see the local doctors gone up north of 20% since the Liberals got elected. So cost of living's going up. So the government says they're big, strong economic managers. But the question is, for whom? Corporate profits in Australia since the last election have gone up 39%. Wages, on average, gone up 6 or 7%. So some people are doing very well. The problem is that working families in this country are now having to dip into their household savings. Did you know that for Australian standard of living, it's the slowest rate of improvement since the 1970s? So the country, you know, it's going ahead, but it's not necessarily bringing everyone with it. So I want to come to you and talk a little bit about a couple of our propositions which will have a direct benefit for yourselves. In other words, how you vote influences your financial circumstances and conditions here and cost of living. One is, this is a pretty good employer, ACFS. I get that. But, you know, there's a lot of freight operations off the island where they're cowboys, where there's an unregulated use of labour hire. You know, when you bid for a contract, I mean, good on you, you've held the Big W contract for 12 years. You don't do that by not being good at your job. But the point about it is that you are constantly competing for contracts with companies who are using, you know, low wages and casualised labour. Some of you, before you came here, will have worked in some of these yards. You understand that. So we've got a couple of specific propositions to help working people. And even if you've already got these conditions here, if we set this as the minimum elsewhere, that improves your job security. Hard for the boss here to give you a wage rise if you're competing for contracts with companies who just, you know, have everyone on casual or everyone on labour hire or paying everyone $5 or $10 less an hour. So what we're proposing across the labour hire industry in Australia is same job, same pay. What that specifically means is you could be a fork operator working for the direct employer, or you could be a forklift operator working for the labour hire. Now here, because of your agreements, you get, you know, they're comparable pay, but down the road, there might be one in-house forklift driver and 10 labour hire. and the labour hire people are paid far less for doing the same job. So tick that box, same job, same pay. The next thing is casualisation and contractors. Did you know that under this government, then more than 1 million of our fellow Australians have to hold down 2 jobs just to make ends meet? Like, we're not America, and we don't want to go down the American path where you've got to rely on tips just to make ends meet. So we're backing in a living wage. We know that if we can lift the minimum wage, we do it through the independent umpire, through negotiation with industry, through negotiation with business. But if we can lift the minimum rate that an adult is to be paid in this country, what that does is that improves your job security, but it means more people have some more money to spend. Currently in Australia, inflation is at 0%. But when you think about what that means, it means that Australians have stopped spending. They're spending their savings just to keep up. They're living on their credit card rather than getting ahead. So we're going to do labour hire and the minimum wage. And there's a third cost of living issue I just want to put to you for your consideration today. That is the question of childcare. Some of you mightn't have kids. Some of you might have kids who are grown up, but they don't seem to leave home. Anyway, the point about it is that childcare is very expensive. I was debating Mr Morrison last night. He says it's got cheaper in the last 12 months. I thought, I don't know what planet that fella lives on, but it ain't the planet which working households are living on in this country. So we are proposing to provide increased subsidy. So if you've got say your household income is under 100K, you and your partner, we will provide 85% of the childcare bill.